Hello friends, in today's video we are checking out what has become one of my favorite places to thrift for around here, and it is America's best thrift store. We are looking for things for the garden, so let's go see what we can find. I don't know why I always say America's best. Is there a place called America's Best? It's America's thrift store. We're starting off right at the front, and does anyone else love it when you go to an organized thrift store? I know I sure do. I don't mind getting my hands dirty at some of the cluttered ones, but it's very nice when they present things in a decent way. So bypassing all of the St. Patrick's Day outfits, not looking for that today, but I liked how they kind of had some St. Patrick's Day themed or green themed home decor items right here at the front. My daughter was very determined to share with you that sparkly shamrock. I noticed these as I was walking up, and what a fun planter. There were two of these, and looking back on it, I just, when you're in the moment and you're like, that's not really going to go with anything that I've got going on outside right now. These would be great for inside. And I don't think they're for live plants. We'd probably have to drill some holes, and I live in a pretty small space, so I'm very particular about what I bring inside, hence why I'm always looking for outdoor decor. But in the spring, summer, warm weather months, that's where you can find all of us anyway. So I do like to spend time making that area beautiful and just fun to be in. But I'm pretty sure that's why you're watching this video, because you like to do that too. I thought these little froggy pieces were so cute, and to find even more of them was fun. Not a bad price, I thought, for something like that, but be sure to let me know what you think of any of these things in the comments below. I know we have all remarked how insane some of the stores have become, thrift stores that are getting these items for free. But I think it's always still worth it to get out there and see if you can still find some of those truly thrifty prices. The home decor section in this store is very big. This is actually a pretty big store in general, and so I really like to come here and look through their home decor because there's always a ton of stuff. And again, like I mentioned, it's very well organized. So this is kind of the garden decor area. I was finding a lot of little pots, which later in the video I'll explain to you that I am actually going to start looking for, but I think at this moment I wasn't quite sure I was going to do that yet, so I was just looking at the pots just to look at them. I really need or want larger sizes, so the smaller ones are not for me right now unless I can find some matching much smaller ones. But like I said, we'll get to that later. I'm a sucker for pottery, ceramics, and when I see someone's signature and a date, I just get extra excited. But alas, I have way too much of that in my home already, so we're not grabbing any of that today. I did adore that piece right there. I think we could, most of this stuff, I'm always thinking we can use it along the fence. But I do have a greenhouse that I plan to massively overhaul the inside of this summer. And I am looking for some beautiful things that can hang up in there, but also serve as a shelf or something that we can hang tools or supplies from, and of course plants. There was a lot to pick through in the metal decor, which always excites me. I really thought that was a great basket for something outside. We could put a fun plant in there. There are a lot of really great table pieces or pieces that I felt would look best on some type of flat surface, like a larger table outside, or maybe even a potting bench if you have a space like that. I don't really have anything like that currently, so I put a lot of that back. Now, these decorative balls here, I was a fan of. However, I was not a fan of the price. $3 is not too bad, especially considering they were metal, but I would have wanted to pick up all 5 because I was thinking how cool they would look outside, dangling from a tree or some branches at varying heights with lighting. A magical look, but we left those behind today. That wooden decor piece for $8.99, way too much for one of those squares. I also loved that look what I did to hang your children's artwork, a very cute idea. Now, this is an interesting piece, and not for its original purposes, but to use as potentially a propagation station or some type of table decor or propagating area for outside, of course. But it had all of the oil and things inside, and I decided I really didn't want to deal with that, so I left it behind. While I'm not currently in the market to build another bird bath, I still like to look at the plates, and thankfully I saw some actual thrifty prices amongst those plates and some really great brands that make quality products. The lighting was all the way at the back, but these two little lanterns certainly caught my eye. However, for $5 a piece, not interested. They did look like maybe you could use them outside, but I wasn't sure, and again, for that price, not going to think too hard about it. We'll be leaving the store checking out one last thing, and it's these adorable wicker chairs, perfect for the romantics out there. Checking in, it's a bit later in the week, and we are going to a shop that I haven't been to in a while, and I believe they've renamed themselves the Dallas Highway Market, and it's a thrift store, but it's also an antique store in a sense because they have vendors, so various booths, and with that, you know, pricing can kind of be all over the place. So let's go in there and see what the prices are looking like. I see a ton of little signs all over the doors and windows saying that they're having a huge sale. So that's promising. And yeah, we're just looking for some more garden decor. Let's get in there. This store always has a fun selection of different items. They've got clothing, they've got home decor, they've got great items for gifts. So it's always fun to look around. But I was noticing very quickly that the prices were on the higher side. And just like I mentioned in the car before we went in, I think they are leaning more towards being an antique mall. So keeping that in mind, you know that those prices are going to be a little bit higher, which can be off-putting if you're out there looking for those thrifty prices. I saw more than a few things in this booth that I found interesting, especially this piece right here. I loved this little lamp that was over in this display, and there is a fun home decor trend that kind of went around last year, but really I don't think it's much of a trend because people have done this for a long time. But to really get those cozy vibes in your kitchen, you put a tiny little cutie lamp in the kitchen, and I do like that idea. And actually last year I found one. I'll have to share that with you sometime. Don't forget to look up when you're visiting antique shops. Lots of times vendors put really fun displays up high, and I really liked those outdoor lanterns. But again, the pricing was not really the price that I was interested in if I was going to get something like that. Same with these plates. This one was extremely vintage and brass, so not going to be something that I was picking up, but fun to look at, just like those fishermen. This booth had a lot of fun goodies, lots of beautiful metal art, and I had to get a closer look at those trays because I just loved this one especially. That was made in Hong Kong. And then this one here, I believe, is a scene from somewhere in Paris. I found a big wrought iron hanging basket for $69. I mean, wrought iron will last you a lifetime, but not really something I needed, so therefore passed on that. And look what we have here, a fun metal art piece, and with that price, I was interested. I'm curious as to what this was. It just said vintage. Vintage what for $20? I thought it looked neat though. Same with this here, which I believe is for plates. Please, in the comments, share your knowledge with all of us. I love our community here, and I think we can all learn from each other. I loved this plate here. It was actually wooden. Found some fun things. I already just got some, but for $1, not bad at all. I really liked the looks of this mirror, and it actually looked more so like a tray to me. I should have checked out the back because I didn't look for any hanging pieces, but that would look lovely on a dresser. Again, another beautiful piece, but with more of that antique mall pricing. I'm a huge fan of the vintage advertising art that are on coffee tins or just tins in general. But this Hershey's lunchbox here is exactly the picture that I have on a vintage tin that I used to have in my romantic feeding station, but I can't find the lid. I don't know what happened to it. I almost got that lunchbox, but I knew I'd be putting it outside, so I decided to leave it behind for someone that may actually want to use it as a lunchbox. Same with this rusty, crusty metal bread box that someone labeled that as. A little too expensive for me, who I know is going to just put it outside. But I love the beauty and the color that are found on a lot of those vintage items. Here's an example of some of them, and I think just continuing to showcase these or display these is a really fun way to add some unexpected art outside. And you know by now, I'm always going to be taking a closer look at any candle holders or the plate holders because those are excellent to use outside. If you've seen my fairy garden video, I actually have a couple of them, but I will be freshening up that fairy garden very soon here. And this was another fun booth to look around in. They had a lot of garden decor and some fun surprises like this birdhouse here. I'd love to know what you're on the hunt for your garden or home this spring and summer. I think overall this shop was worth the visit, and let's head back home and do a thrift haul. Let's do a quick thrift haul of the goodies I was able to find this week, and then I want to style a few of the metal art pieces that I was able to find a couple of weeks ago and maybe just think or brainstorm some ideas on my newer items. First, we have these two planters, and I picked these up from America's Thrift Store. I liked their style and shape. So these were $4.99 each, a little bit more than maybe we would pay for this size of planter, but I was able to get two. So I like the fact that they match. And then here, let's do a size comparison. So I have this old planter I was actually given next to it right here, which this year I do want to update these and paint them, but they're still in great condition. They are just starting to look a little too shabby. You know, I don't mind that shabby look, but they might be on the edge of looking kind of bad now. So I'm not sure what color I want to paint them yet, but these two guys right here, I'm excited to do something with, because while they are on the smaller size and the scale certainly does matter when you're doing things outside, and I've come to learn that the larger the better, at least for the type of designing I like to do. But what I was thinking for these two guys is that we could definitely have them maybe in an entrance somewhere or part of the path, but if I could post them up either on some columns or just wooden posts, that we could add some height and make them look good that way. And then I'll definitely be putting some plants in them, and they're a plastic material, so they should last pretty well outside. They do not have holes actually, so we'll have to do something about that. Maybe just a little one right down here. And then I couldn't pass up a little suet holder. I just love these. We have so many birds that enjoy the ones that we currently have, so I thought another one couldn't hurt. And I guess this is, you know, this might be the theme this spring and summer, but I keep picking things up with this leaf little decoration. And as you saw, the second store we visited was a little bit more on the pricey side. I think they are kind of deeming themselves more of an antique mall, so that's understandable, but that doesn't mean I have to buy it. So a lot of stuff I passed on, and I was able to come across a few good prices in there, which I think I shared some of them, and one of those was this beautiful metal art piece. I just thought this would be a very fun painting project to do this spring, and for the price it was $4.99, and then everything in the store was 30% off, so we did get a discount on this pretty metal art piece. This post here we put the Birdfy on, and one post turned into two posts with a top. So we've created another little entryway, and really this has kind of always been the entry to the path that goes behind the greenhouse. I kind of just had these old planters here. Excuse the kids playing with the solar lights. Not a bad look at nighttime, but during the day, kind of crazy. Anyway, I know you can all relate. So I'm thinking I would like to put our new black crosses here, and I think I'm gonna use that dark hunter green spray paint. And then I have an idea for this spot right here. And as we walk through our entry, I've always liked this thrifted flower frame to be a focal point. Well, the other day David was playing around with the new metal art pieces, and he had turned the frame this way vertically and then decided to put this inside of it. I've since figured out if we put it on the outside of it, which let me just grab it and show you. And I will definitely be cleaning the bird mess off, but we can look past that for now, right? So if we put this on the outside, I intended for this to always have flowers in it or a plant, but because I didn't set it up properly when I first kind of created it, it has struggled to keep a plant there. But I think this would be so wonderful. I may not even paint it like I was going to. And then shout out to Kathy, who had the same idea the same morning. When I woke up and read her comment, I was like, wow, I had just thought of that. I'd been brainstorming on what to do here besides lighting, besides putting seeds. And I think I'm gonna put a little pot here, because then we don't even need to remove our stake, and it can still have a drainage hole. And I would still like to have some plants here. And how great would maybe some trailing type of plants be in little pots? So that is the update with this guy right here, and let's get started on some of these projects. Now, I'm not sure if I want to try and thrift for little pots for these. I know I could get them through thrifting, but obviously that's going to take some patience, some time, if I want it to be matching or not. I mean, every once in a while we can find, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the same thing, but not always. Thankfully, the smaller terracotta pots are always pretty affordable, which I love terracotta, so that may be what we do with this. Now I'll have to think about what plant or flower to put there, but we are not out of our cold season yet here. I'm in zone A/B and metro Atlanta area, and we actually have a really cold snap coming up in a few days. So yeah, not really too eager to put stuff out here that maybe won't survive. Ooh. While our paint project dries, we're headed to Dollar Tree to grab some solar lights. Thank you to my friend Liz from Garden Happy here on YouTube for sharing these amazing lights. I can't wait to use them in this design. So let's get back and bring it all together. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to hit that hype button and subscribe before you head out. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.